everyone, it's Jessica. I know I shared in a previous video what my plans were for the future, but I did just want to share it again in a face-to-face way. I am not planning to move over to Stampin' Up, and even though my time as a Close to My Heart maker is coming to an end here at the end of April, I am going to still create videos here on YouTube because honestly, it's just fun. It's something that I enjoy doing. I hope you've enjoyed watching along with me as I create. So it has been a little hectic around here lately. We've had kids sporting events and spring break vacation. So I feel like since the news of the Close to My Heart's closing, I haven't had as many videos come out. And I just wanted to share with you that, if that happens, just know that I am still here. I'm going to try to hold myself to a regular schedule, even though, there's nothing really attached to it. It's just for fun. So please be patient with me if you see a little time go by between videos posting. I'm still here, I'm still creating, and I will plan on sharing those with you as much as I am able to. All right, let's make an Easter layout for today. Now, this layout is going to be a double page spread because as you can see, I have quite a few pictures to work with, 11 in fact, and I have already printed and or cut them down to mostly 3x3 or 2x2, and those photo sizes were inspired by this layout here from the creative design team. It is from their 12x12 sketchbook, and so I'm going to be working off of that particular pattern. I have a bunch of Easter and spring stamp sets actually sitting on my desk, so I've just kind of gathered them close. At this point, I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use, but I do have them there and ready to use. I do know that I want to use the Honey Bunny paper collection for this layout because it's so pretty and perfect for these Easter egg hunt pictures. And I don't actually end up using the sticker sheet. I kind of forgot about it by the time I was done, but I'll flip these papers over here and just show you I have a really beautiful variety to pick from. I pulled a couple of other paper packs. I have the Gnomes for Spring and then also the mix-in paper pack that goes along with Honey Bunny, just in case I end up wanting to use something extra. So I've gone ahead and started cutting some papers according to that pattern, and I did gut them out where I was able to because of course I want to save all of the pretty paper and cardstock. And originally I was thinking on the left-hand page that I was going to mat that square with some pink flamingo paper. As you can see, my daughter has a pink jacket on, but once I did that and gutted it and everything, I wasn't loving it. So I went back to the drawing board and I found this peacock colored paper in my stash, which is one of my favorite old colors. And I really love the way that it works with that glacier. It's just a darker shade of that same kind of tone, and I ended up liking that much better. So I'm going to use the peacock color, which is retired and not even technically part of this paper collection, but like I said, it just worked. And then I had to decide what I was going to mat my white cardstock on for the right-hand page. I went back and forth a little bit between using Glacier, which is what that pattern paper is in over on the left-hand side, or, I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring in more of the peacock, and I ended up going with the Glacier. Now, I don't have much of anything glued down here. In fact, the only thing I have glued down is that yellow banner on the bottom of the left page. Everything else I've just kind of laid out just to kind of get a feel for how this is going to go. One of the things I love about this page here is that big 4x6 photo that is kind of the focal picture of the double page layout, that it has a bunch of paper layers tucked behind it. So I just kind of went to town pulling a bunch of different patterns from that paper collection, and I'm just going to kind of tuck them. By the time I glue them all down, I actually ended up with a bigger spread than I think it was supposed to be, but I was trying to make sure that you could see a lot of all of the different patterns. And I also really wanted to be able to still see that cute little bunny in the bunny pattern up at the very top. So then once I got it all kind of figured out, it's, always the question of how do I go ahead and glue it all down without screwing it up. So I was trying to be careful. It wasn't working. And so what I decided to do was just to start gluing things. And then I thought, I'm going to glue my photo to the bigger piece of pattern paper, and at least then I can move that as one entire unit. That did make things a little bit easier. But once I did that, I realized that, I should probably center that 4x6 photo on the page. And so I did a little bit of math, and I was kind of looking at my page here, and I thought, oh, nope, these two pieces I have already glued down. they are definitely in the wrong spot. I'm going to have to move some things in order to center this up. So it did take me probably longer than was really necessary to glue all of these papers down here and kind of get that part settled, but it did turn out in the end. And like I said, I wish I would have kind of pulled my papers in a little closer and made that spread a little bit tighter, but it still was fun to see all of the different patterns. So now that I've got that, I know I definitely want to put something up in the top right corner of that photo, just because the way that I spread those papers out, it felt a little naked to me. So this is the Honey Bunny scrapbooking stamp and thin cut set. I just like to kind of hold my stamp sets over different areas and try to envision what it might look like if I use different stamps in different places. So definitely want to bring in some of these adorable little bunnies. And actually, I discovered that I already had some stamped and colored and cut out. I forgot that I had done it at one of my daughter's volleyball tournaments. When I first got that stamp set, I was just practicing with my colored pencils, and then I stuck them back in the envelope. And so I already had some of those bunnies ready to go. Another die cut that I pulled out to start embellishing is actually this square stitched frame from an older thin cut set. I had them tucked in that set of thin cuts, and I thought that it might be good to place them around 3 of these pictures here, just because they are matted in white and they're on that white background. And I just wanted them to kind of stand out a little bit without kind of adding any more color or pattern paper. I felt like it was getting to be a little bit busy. So once I decided to do that, I started playing around with the bunnies. And you guys, I moved these bunnies so many times. I just could not find a happy place for them. I really liked these 2 together, the big one and the smaller one. I felt like they wanted to be together, and I liked them kind of sitting close to each other, like they were hugging or talking to each other. But the problem is that the way that they are facing and the way that the other bunny is facing, I just couldn't get anything to be on the right-hand page in a way that made me feel happy. Like, I really liked this big bunny here with the little baby bunny kind of sitting in front of him or her. But then that left that jumping bunny, and he just was going in the wrong direction, and it really wasn't working for me. So that's something to think about. You know, if your stamps or your stamped images are facing a certain way, you don't want them to feel like they're running off the side of the page. You want them to kind of stay contained to the center of it. And that's really what I was struggling with. Like, it was that jumping bunny. He was facing in the wrong direction. I thought about trying to mess with doing a reverse stamping, but honestly, I've never done that before, and I already had him colored, so I'm going to turn it to the flowers instead and kind of mess around with those for a while I think about my bunny placement. So I have some of these flower shapes. These are from the decorative thin cuts, which I know have been a really hot item here at the end of Close to My Heart's Life. And hopefully, if you love them, you were able to get your hands on them. If not, I'm sure there are a lot of other die cut sets out there that have similar shapes, or, you know, you could cut some things from your Cricut too. But I just used some flowers, and then I did a bunch of different circles because I wanted to have some centers to my flowers. And I decided to put the big bunny and the baby bunny here in my center square over on the right-hand page. And then I thought it might be fun to tuck a little something behind them, just because there was all of that, you know, yellow patterned paper, and I thought maybe something to kind of help ground them. And then I did decide on my jumping bunny to go over on the left-hand page. It wasn't my favorite spot for him, but I did like how it felt like he was running toward the center. And then I went ahead and glued all of the flowers down. I love all of those pattern papers in there. Just a fun way to bring in lots of colors and patterns. And then I did also use the Hoppin' Down the Bunny Trail sentiment from that same stamp set. And I'm going to let that be my title right there, where those 2 bunnies are hanging out together. And I also wanted to use 3 of them because I have 3 kids. I had to get all 3 bunnies in there somewhere. All right, this bottom square is going to be where my journaling takes place. And so I want to decorate that white journaling square up just a little bit. I'm using an ink blending brush and putting some glacier ink into the center of that square. Pulling out my favorite old journaling stamp set to stamp a couple of journal lines on it. And then as I started stamping them on there and I got down towards the bottom, I thought, well, I'm going to stop and maybe kind of stamp like a little, I don't know, flower and egg scene at the bottom. So I went back to that Honey Bunny stamp set, and there are lots of really cute little tiny images on that stamp set. So I grabbed the one that has the cluster of flowers, and then I also used a couple of the single flowers, and I just started stamping like a row of flowers across the bottom. Now, originally my idea was to kind of have some flowers and then to use the one image on that stamp set that has like 3 eggs sitting in a row. And I thought that that would kind of be a fun thing to have just underneath the journaling. But once I was done with all of this stamping, something about it just wasn't really kind of sitting well with me. I don't know. I think it's still a cute idea, but I didn't love it. I slept on it. I came back the next day and I thought, no, I don't love it. So I redid the ink blending, stamped more journal lines, and instead what I'm going to do is make my own little egg cluster. So that first 3 that I had used on my original journal spot also has a couple of little blades of grass as part of the image, and I didn't want the grass in there, but I wanted the 3 eggs still clustered in the same way. So I used the single egg stamp image on that set and just stamped my own. And then where they're going to overlap in the middle, I stamped a separate egg, and then I'm going to fussy cut all of this out and layer that middle egg up so that way it kind of covers where those stamped lines intersect. Now for the 3 of them, I am cutting them so that they look like a die cut and have that nice little white border. But when I do that turquoise egg, I'm going to cut it up right against that black stamped line, and then that way I can layer it right over the top of the middle there, with a little bit of foam tape, of course, because I thought that would be fun. And then you won't even be able to tell that these weren't all meant to go together in the first place. And so I thought, after all of this work, isn't that cute? I love the way that that looks. I thought after all of this work that this would go on that journaling square, and I would still kind of be able to make a little scene of sorts down there. But once I plopped it on, I was like, ooh, I think I want to put that with the bunnies. And I loved it so much on there, I actually made another one and put it over with my hopping bunny on the left-hand page. My eggs were looking a little too plain, so I used a white gel pen to decorate them up a little bit with some dots and squiggles and things of that nature. And they turned out so cute. So if you have this stamp set, I highly recommend that you decorate your eggs just like you do when you dye your Easter eggs at home. All right, the final thing, I've got a couple of Honey Bunny enamel dots here, and I'm just going to scatter some of the yellow ones around my various clusters. And then off camera, I will stamp the date in that yellow tab up on the top of the right page, and then I'll put a couple of hearts in the bottom yellow tab on the right page. And that is going to be about it. I'm really glad I was able to record this memory of an egg hunt that we did at our house during COVID. Normally we do it at my in-laws' house, but because it was lockdown, my mother-in-law came over while we were all inside, and the kids weren't allowed to look out the window until she was all done hiding the eggs, and then we went out and found them, and so we did it with no contact. So I had a lot of pictures, and sometimes that can be a little overwhelming for me to scrapbook. I actually prefer to work with fewer when I'm creating, so it was very nice to have that sketchbook from the creative design team. That definitely made things a whole lot easier. And I was very excited to use all of those adorable bunnies and the Honey Bunny collection, which I just absolutely love. Thank you again so much for being here with me today, guys. Happy crafting. I'll see you next time.